Hi everyone, welcome back. The topic for today's discussion is osteochondroma, which is an important exam topic. The first word which you should remember when you're preparing for osteochondroma is the word benign. Yes, it is a benign bone tumor and it is also a most common benign bone tumor. The other name for osteochondroma is exhaustosis. The word exhaustosis is because of this radiological picture, which is seen as a cauliflower-like outgrowth of bone from its normal limb bones. How does this form? The theory behind the formation of this exhaustosis is that during the growth phase of the skeleton, especially of the long bones, which grow by physis, the lateralmost portion of the physis gets displaced from its main structure and it starts growing separately away from the adjacent joint. Thus, exhaustosis is seen only in bones which are formed from the physeal growth plate, or in otherwise only in bones which are formed by endochondral ossification, and it does not occur in bones which form by intramembranous ossification. The cauliflower growth grows diagonally along the long axis of the bone, and it is always away from the adjacent joint as seen from this radiological picture. To define osteochondroma, you divide it into osteo and chondroma. It is nothing but a bony projection with the cartilaginous cap, and the marrow cavity of this projection is continuous with the underlying bone. Thus, to define again, this is a cartilage cap covered bony projection, and the marrow cavity of this bony projection is continuous with the underlying bone from which it originates. This is an intraoperative picture of the osteochondroma of fibula, which shows a glistening surface, which is the cartilage cap. And in this pictorial representation of osteochondroma, the blue colored structure is the cartilaginous cap, which is seen as the glistening surface in this intraoperative image. Yellow structure is the cortex, and the pink structure is the marrow. The yellow and pink, that is the cortex and the marrow of this outgrowth, is continuous with that of the bone from which it develops, and this is a classical feature of osteochondroma. This arrow mark shows the continuity of the marrow of the osteochondroma with that of the underlying bone. There are two types of osteochondroma. The first type is solitary osteochondroma, and as the name suggests, it is a single lesion, and this type is the most common, seen in 85%, and these are non-hereditary, as seen in the CT picture, a single exhaustosis from the lower end of the femur. The second type is a multiple osteochondroma, and as the name suggests, there are multiple lesions and these are hereditary. That is why it is otherwise called as hereditary multiple exhaustosis, which is seen in 15% of the population, those who are having osteochondromas, and there are gene mutations in EXT1 and 2, which is an entrance exam question. As we see in this radiological picture, there is osteochondroma in bilateral femur and bilateral tibia, which is classical of hereditary multiple exhaustosis. Osteochondroma predominantly affects children and adolescents, and the site of origin is in the metaphysis of the long tubular bones like femur, tibia, and humerus. The word metaphysis is also important because it is another entrance question. If you take this femur, the upper and lower end is the epiphysis, the middle part is the diaphysis, and the metaphyses are these orange squared regions on either ends, and these are the sites where osteochondromas arise. Coming to the clinical features, majority of these osteochondromas does not cause any symptoms other than a swelling. So it is a painless, slow growing swelling in the bone, and this swelling continues to grow till the child reaches the skeletal maturity, after which the growth of the swelling stops. Thus, majority of the cases, it is identified as a painless swelling in the involved bone. But very rarely, these osteochondromas can also become symptomatic in these following conditions. The first and foremost is when the stalk by which it attaches to the underlying bone fractures, it may cause pain, and when it affects the growth plate, especially in multiple exostosis, it can cause deformity of the bone. Like for example, in a case of distal femur, it can cause genu valgum or genu varum. When it is very close to a joint, say for example in the hip joint, it causes problems in movement of the joint. When it is adjacent to a vessel, like in the posterior aspect of the femur or the tibia, it can compress the adjacent vessels like the popliteal artery, leading to vascular symptoms which can range from claudication, thrombosis, or even critical ischemia because of complete occlusion. When the exostosis is adjacent to a tendon, there can be pain and restricted joint movement because of the rubbing or the attrition of the tendon over this exostosis. And when this exostosis is adjacent to a nerve, it can cause numbness and weakness depending on the extent of the pressure it exerts over the involved nerve. So these are the conditions in which these osteochondromas can cause symptoms. My first slide was that osteochondromas are benign tumors. Yes, but very rarely it can undergo malignant transformation, and the signs which indicate that this benign tumor undergoes a malignant transformation are these 5 points. When the pain suddenly increases, when the size of the swelling suddenly increases, when the cartilaginous cap thickness increases, which is seen as this bright white shadow in the MRI, which is marked in the pointed arrows. Most of the lesions in flat bones like pelvis and scapula, and when the margins of the lesion are irregular with adjacent soft tissue infiltration. So these 5 signs might indicate that there is a risk of malignant transformation. As I told you before, hereditary multiple exostosis is a condition where there are many osteochondromas in many bones, and it can involve bilaterally of both upper limbs and lower limbs as seen in this picture. And when there are multiple osteochondromas, the metaphyseal region widens, and that itself results in limb abnormalities as seen in the picture again, and it can affect the range of movement of the adjacent joints. So how to diagnose? The basic investigation is a plain radiograph, AP and lateral view of the involved bone. The presentation in the X-ray is classical, nobody will miss it. This is either a pedunculated outgrowth, that is with a stalk, or it will be a flat protuberance from the bone, and it arises from the metaphyseal region of the long bone. And at the region of origin, the width of the metaphysis will be wide. The cortex and the medullary cavity of this exostosis will be continuous with the underlying bone, like which we have seen before, and there can be calcifications in the cartilaginous cap. Like the clinical signs which I have told before, which might indicate malignant transformation, there are some radiological signs of malignant transformation of this benign tumor, like enlargement in the size, irregularity of the margins, increased calcification of the tumor, and increased soft tissue mass, which indicates involvement of the adjacent soft tissues. So these radiological signs should alert us that the benign tumor is turning into malignant. The investigation of choice for a symptomatic osteochondroma is MRI because this gives us a clear picture about the morphology of the osteochondroma and also gives us the relationship with the adjacent nerves, vessels, and soft tissue infiltration, which will help us in differentiating the benign tumor from malignant tumor. And it also gives the thickness of the cartilaginous cap, which is very important to diagnose malignant transformation of this benign tumor. Two numbers you have to remember, 2 and 3. When the cartilaginous cap thickness is more than 2 centimeters in adults and more than 3 centimeters in children, then it suggests that this benign osteochondroma is undergoing a malignant transformation and it has to be treated immediately. So what will be the pathology once you remove the tumor? The pathology is again classical as seen in this picture. The blue color is the cartilaginous cap covered by perichondrium, which is continuous with the periosteum of the bone underneath. There is a cartilaginous head, and the incidence of malignant transformation to chondrosarcoma is 1% in a case of solitary osteochondroma and 20% in a case of hereditary multiple exhastosis. So this clearly indicates that in a case of hereditary multiple exhastosis, you have to be very careful when the patient complains of pain in the outgrowths because the chances of it turning into malignancy is 20% when compared to only 1% in solitary osteochondroma. So what is the treatment of this condition? Osteochondroma should be treated only when it is symptomatic, when it is causing complications, or when it is causing cosmetic problems. If these three are there, then the osteochondroma has to be treated, and the one and only treatment for an exhastosis is complete surgical excision of the lesion along with the cartilaginous cap. So to conclude, osteochondroma or exhastosis is the most common benign bone tumor. 85% of these tumors are solitary and 15% are multiple, which is involved in hereditary multiple exhastosis. And this is important because the malignant transformation in this 15% is nearly 20%. Increasing size of the tumor and increasing thickness of the cartilaginous cap should be identified because these are signs of malignant transformation of this benign tumor. And whenever the osteochondroma becomes symptomatic or it shows signs of malignant transformation, the one and only treatment is complete surgical excision. Thank you.